Hey y'all, really quick, I wanted to do a little bit of a rundown on brushes. Brushes, the functionality of brushes works the same with lots of different tools over here. Whether it's the eraser tool or whether it's even any of these, it kind of works with that as well. So let me just kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to change this. Let's make it fun colors, not something just plain and blah. Okay, so we're going to go with this bright green. And sorry if you can tell behind me, this is 4th of July or the 3rd of July. So we've got some of that going in the background, so hopefully we'll limit that. Okay, so now we have the brush. So this is what the brush tool does for us. There's all kinds of different brushes that you can use for this. Mainly what we use for yearbook is this hard one, but it turns soft based on how soft we make the edges. So I'm just going to show you what I mean by a hard and the soft one. So I'm going to make the size of it really big so you can see, and make it big again. So the left and right bracket, make it bigger and smaller. This is just the left and right bracket. Now, if you hold down the Alt key, see I've got my Alt key on, hold down the Alt key and then right click, then you can drag up and down to make it softer or harder, and left and right to make it bigger and smaller. This is all still while holding down the Alt key. And you just kind of go back and forth and however you decide you want it. Now, do I remember whether up and down is softer and harder? No, I never do. So I always have to end up playing with it like this. But I'm going to tell you, as long as you can figure out how to do this Alt, holding down the Alt key while also holding down the right mouse button, and you can click and drag up and down, left and right. When you figure this out, then it makes things a lot easier when it comes to cutting out. So what does the hardness and softness mean? So see right here on this little diagram right here, this is how hard it is, 23% soft around the edge. And if I go up here to 0, then it's basically just a total feather. All the way down here, it's really hard. So when you draw it on here and it goes hard like this versus you go down here and you make it really soft, then you can go this way. And so let's change the color, dark green, and we'll make it harder coming through here. And there's your hard edge versus a soft edge. Okay, so that's the difference. Now, if we do this, the pencil is basically the pencil. It's always going to be like this. I don't think we ever really use it. Sometimes you do. Here's the color replacement. Remember when I did that Nike thing, or the Converse shoe? I could have done this. If I have a different color on here and I want this to be pink, then this color replacement will pick whatever is this color and it will change it that color. See how it's not changing? No. Okay, so where my crosshair got that little crosshair in the middle, where it goes over the edge, it's going to try and color that pink color. So as long as I'm right on that edge and I don't let that pink go over, and see a little bit of a bleed over, but as soon as that crosshair goes over into the light green, now it starts changing that color. So that's how it should have been done. But I was doing the magic wand, but anyway. But it still works on this hard and soft edge, so I can still do it here. Now, can you see that you can see through this little thing? Now, see this little number right here that says opacity? It takes whatever the last time was that I used this. So here's where you change the tolerance, and we're going to change it to 100%. So as long as my little crosshair is on that, then it's not going to try and change it. Ooh, it did pick it up a little bit on the other side. I'm not sure why. Okay, so you can change whatever, the color mode, hue and saturation. Okay, now this is really cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and open a picture just to kind of show you how this could work. So if we have Kinsley, maybe Kinsley doesn't want to have to jump for joy all by herself. She wants to have a twin. So how are we going to go about doing that? Okay, wrist the little rubber stamp tool, clone stamp. If I hold down the Alt key, I'm going to say this is where I want it to start. Now I'm going to see that little icon over there. I'll make this bigger. Oh, look, her head is in there. So if I just want to maintain just her head, she wants to be all by herself. She wants to be taller or something. Okay, we can come over here, and as long as it's duplicating everything on that other side. So I can come over here and I can give Kinsley a twin. And what I can see over there, she's going to take the camera and her little twin. Oh, just let go of it. See where it's going to go. It's going to go over the top of this truck. And her other arm, we're going to make it look like it's going back behind her. And she's got a buddy over here. And as long as we're not picking up some of the other stuff in the background, so I'm just trying to go right along her edge. But ultimately, you get the point. So as long as you're feathering it and you're going all the way out here, it's still using the same concept of that little brush thing. So we're going to make that sidewalk over there. Went a little too far. But I'm working on the background. Should never work on that background by itself, because this is the excuse me, the original image of Kinsley. So if I was to save it, I would ruin that image. So I am not going to save it. I just wanted you to see how that works. So I'm going to close it. No, don't save it, because we kind of like that picture of Kinsley. Okay, so it still works also with your brush tool, your art history, the eraser tool, which you will also use. Right now it is set to the brush mode. You can use it in the pencil mode, in the block mode, but usually we're going to use it in the brush. So again, Alt, right click, and I'm enlarging and all that. Bigger, smaller, or harder, softer, bigger, smaller. Okay. So if I wanted to come back in here and I wanted to stroke in here straight down through there, or if I want to make it softer, we come across here. Okay, we need to get used to using notes. Now, this is another tool that sometimes we'll use when we use the mask. You have the blur tool, and it also has the same factor, your hard and soft. You see where it's the strength of it right now is set at 15. What this thing does, this is going to blur whatever is around here. It's only 15% strength right now, so it doesn't do a whole lot. Okay, so what happens if we do it 100%? Doesn't do it. It's get a little bit of blur into it. We'll use this on the mask sometimes when we're doing cutouts. The sharpen tool uses the same tool. It's a matter of how strong we want it to sharpen. Come back over that part was supposed to be sharp, and look what it does to that blend. It kind of muddies it, so it's not really all that pretty. But what does the smudge tool do? The smudge tool works with this thing as well. Smudge tool is sometimes where I would use to draw in the mask back on some hair. So basically what this does is at 85% strength, this is where you're going to be watching, it's going to take this piece and it's going to drag it. So there you have it. So if we go to a 10%, it doesn't do it near as far. And kind of in between. But see how it will take everything that it's got, and it will take it all the way across. Okay, so then we've also got the dodge tool. Dodge and burn functions kind of the same way. You've got that same smudgy kind of stuff. If you think of this dodge and burn tool, this is taken from the original photography way back when we used to do it in my days, when we had a dark room and we would go in with the negative and we would develop the film. We would dodge places where we didn't want it to be too dark, and then we would burn in places where we wanted it to be darker. Just like you burn your toast, it makes it darker. But if you dodge it, you're not there, you don't get caught. So, but it still works with that same feathering and lighting, hard and soft edges on that thing. Now I've got the exposure is going to, if I go to 100%, I'm going to lighten this whole thing. Now check this, you've got the light shadows. If I go to the darker part, it lightens the darker part, or if I go to the highlights, it's going to lighten the brighter parts, so when it's already on light. But midtones, it's going to make it all lighter. Okay, so now we're going to go, so that's making it brighter. You can make it a little bit less sometimes. Sometimes I'll use it when we've got somebody's face and I want to pop the highlights on their cheeks and maybe across their forehead or something like that. And then we've got the burn tool as well. So now we're going to make it darker. its exposure set to 14 on the highlights. So I'm going to make that up to 100% so you can truly see what it does. It muddies it, so you got to be careful. On the midtones, it usually tries to keep it, protect the tones, tries to keep it in the same tonal range, and then in the shadows it makes it really dark. So sometimes I use this to cast shadows on like if I've got, like on that thing with picture with Kinsley, if I was trying to make it look like she really did have a twin, then I would do it on multiple layers over here. Put the original on one layer, and then I would actually do a cutout on the other one, and then throw a shadow on her by burning it, something like this, close to her skin. So there's not much else over here that I would use. The only other one that I'm going to think of, and I'm just going to open, let me go do a search so I don't insult anybody. Zit on face. I don't want to be really gross, just a couple of them, just like teenage acne. Okay, so we'll use this one. I'm going to just use this one, copy the image, and then I'm going to go back into Photoshop, and I'm going to go to new. Here's the funny thing. You'll pay $10 for your pictures to get this fixed. And you want to see how easy it is? It's kind of sickening how easy it is. Okay, so this little patch spot healing tool, same thing. You got these big tools that are, the big and the little. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to see the proximity match. It's going to get something around it, and it's going to decide whether it should get it or not. So you basically want you want it to have a soft edge, but the size of it, you want it to basically cover that zit. So you're going to click it and go a little bit bigger, and it's gone. I mean, it's still kind of there, but I'm just doing a rough job on it right now. Now, you can also go back to that cool, I mean, we've pretty much gotten rid of it for the most part, but it still kind of has that little blemishy kind of look to it. So that rubber stamp, clone stamping again, we're going to capture this skin tone and go right down over here. Now, sometimes it starts to get a little bit too much because this skin tone is a lot darker than what this one is. So then you make your opacity not quite so dark. So if we go in here, and we're going to make it a little bit smaller maybe. And it's just a matter of doctoring it in just the right places. So if it was just one little zit, like this little guy right here, you could easily get that taken care of with this. So those two. But let's go back to what the original is. So you go to File and Revert. Where is it? Oh, it's not letting me revert it. I'm going to go Control Z a whole bunch of times. Control Z, bring all that stuff back so we can see the originals. The really grossness. Sorry. Okay, Control Z, Control Shift Z. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do it with a clone stamp. So we're going to try and get skin that's in the same tonal range. See where this highlight is right here and this highlight is over here? We don't necessarily have to have that highlight, but we're going to try and get pretty close. So we're going to take this right here. I'm going to use the, oops, sorry, hit the wrong button. So if I'm going to come over here with that clone stamp, I'm going to say, can we use this part right here and kind of go over this? See how it's kind of, it's taken on this skin tone over here? And this right here along this edge too. There we go. Okay, and we got some right around in here. Maybe some of this will take, but it's not at 100%. My opacity is a little smaller because I don't want it to completely, I still want to be able to have control of it. So if I can come over here. Now, one thing to take into consideration too, I want to show you this while I've got this here. If I start here and I try to just, it's going to pick up everything that's underneath this. So as long as if I just click and drag and try to paint, it's going to actually come back and it's going to start painting that zit back on. Let me turn this up to 100% so you can see it. So if I go here, see how now it just comes back and it starts drawing that back on? It just moved it. So you have to be careful with this. So I will, at times, I will draw to a certain extent, and then I'll come back and I'll reposition it so that it doesn't start looking like duplicates. Especially when you're doing like trees and stuff, you want to click and move in different areas so it doesn't make it look like you're duplicating it straight away. So pretty nice little face change kind of sort of thing. You can come back and doctor it a little bit more every now and then, however you want to do it. Get rid of that, and be careful taking stuff like this, because that just might be a little beauty mark that she actually wants. I actually did that one time. It was a birthmark on a kid's face, and I had taken the other side of his face, flipped it over, brushed it in using the little transparencies and stuff, and I made it all look all nice and everything. And they're like, that's a birthmark. So I'm like, okay, I should kind of probably leave that on there. But so this is how the brushes work. You definitely want to get used to that one. So I'm going to encourage you to start playing with some of that, because we will use it as we get farther into photo cutouts and all that kind of stuff. So that's it for the brush tool and all of the soft edges. I guess that's what we'll call this one. That's it.